Hello friends, welcome back. In today's session, we will understand about Azure Data Center, regions, and region pairs, availability zones, and redundancy options available in Azure. So let's start with Azure Data Center. So whenever you're deploying any service in Azure, whether it's SQL database, web hosting, or a virtual machine, or any of the service, it is originally hosted on a physical infrastructure. A physical space to host those physical infrastructure is a data center. It has its own building, power, cooling, and its own network infrastructure. So there can be one or more than one data center in an Azure region. Now let's move to regions and understand what is an Azure region. So one or more data centers in a geographical location is considered as a region. And Microsoft has many regions across the globe of different sizes, so there can be a single data center or multiple ones in an Azure region. In order to have lower latency, we must always deploy services in the location where we currently are or to the one closest to us. So there are some services in Azure that are globally available. That means they are not assigned or deployed in a specific region, like Traffic Manager, Azure Functions, and many more. Now let's see what a region pairs are. Some regions are paired with another region, and these paired regions are typically located within the same geopolitical area. Regions are paired to ensure if there is a disaster in one region and the region goes down, then the second region will be up and replicate your data from the first region. Now, let's talk about availability zones. Availability zones are separate group of data centers within a region. These data centers are connected by a high performance network with latency of less than 2 milliseconds. So they are designed in a way that if one zone experiences an outage, then the regional services, capacity, and high availability is supported by the remaining zones. So there are two ways that Azure services use availability zones, that is zonal and zone redundant. Zonal resources like virtual machines, disks, and many more. Here, you can choose to which availability zone you want to deploy. In case of virtual machines, deploy two virtual machines, one in availability zone 1 and other in availability zone 2 or maybe 3. This way, you ensure if there is an outage in one availability zone, your virtual machine, at least one of them will still be available. The second type of service is zone redundant, where resources like SQL databases or storage accounts and many more where you can deploy to multiple availability zones. So if there is an outage in a single availability zone, Microsoft manages failover to another availability zone automatically. Now coming to the type of redundancy options in Azure, Microsoft provides availability in a single region as well as in the paired region. So starting with locally redundant storage, which is LRS, it copies your data simultaneously three times within a single data center in the primary region. LRS is the least expensive replication option. However, it is not recommended for applications requiring high availability or durability. Wherein zone redundant storage, that is ZRS, copies your data simultaneously across three Azure availability zones in the primary region. For applications requiring high availability, Microsoft recommends using ZRS in the primary region and also replicating to a secondary region. Now talking about redundancy to support secondary region as well, there are geo redundant storage, which is GRS, and geo zone redundant storage, which is GZRS. So GRS copies your data simultaneously three times within a data center in the primary region using LRS, and then it copies your data to the secondary region again using LRS. And with Geo Zone Redundant Storage, it copies your data simultaneously across three availability zones in the primary region using ZRS, and then it copies your data to the secondary region using ZRS. So here's a pictorial representation. I got it from internet, which will make you understand it more better. So these two are the primary regions, and this is the secondary region. So for LRS, in the primary region, it copies your data three times within a single data center. Same way, for ZRS, it copies your data within three availability zones in a region. Now, to support primary and secondary redundancy, GRS first copies your data using LRS in the primary region, and in the same way, it copies the data in the secondary region. Talking about GZRS, it first copies your data in the primary region within three availability zone, and then in the same way, it copies the data to the secondary region. So this is the global view of the Azure data centers available. If you want a better idea, you can go to datacenters.microsoft.com, or I will paste the link in the description as well. So if you click on view map and you click on any of the region, this will give a representation of all the regions across the world and where Azure has their data. So thank you guys for watching. Let's meet in the next session.